Hey, you're watching Politrixx, everything religion, politics, and sex. All the stuff you're not supposed to talk about on Michael. We have Sam Eats Plants and the director, Wes Clark, which is upcoming series on YouTube, Tubi?
Tubi, yep.
All right.
Yep.
What's it called?
It's called Groupie, the blueprint of a self-made millionaire.
All right.
I love it.
So look for that. So this is a heated topic. I'm probably going to leave the room because Sam is going to come alive and...
We love it.
Wes, you had to be here for this one because I need you back on. I need you on this one. Do black men not like black women? Is that where we're at right now? Sam.
Do they not like them, or do they like them?
Start with me now.
Yeah. Do we not like black women?
To answer that question, I'm going to give some context to the diasporic experience via white supremacist patriarchy. Anti-blackness hits everybody, including black people. Anti-blackness is seen in countries where people are brown, like India, like Jamaica, like Nigeria. This is the reason why colorism even exists within blackness and black spaces, where it's a black-dominated society run by black people, because anti-blackness has affected everybody. I tend to say, and Michael's heard me say this a lot, the way anti-blackness as an epidemic hits black women differently than it hits black men. I have come to believe, up to this point, as time goes on, it might change, that the way it hits women is through aesthetics, how our hair looks, staying out of the sun, even as mundane as like wanting blue and green on contacts, things like that, right? But mostly an aesthetic thing. And I've come to believe the way it hits men is a disdain for who they actually are, which leads to a disdain for their moms, their children that look like them, and each other. And the way it ends up being acted out within the community, if we're just going to talk about how anti-blackness through black men is acted out, is through degenerate behavior toward each other, to other adult males, to children, to women, or if they have the ability and proximity to jump away and out of blackness towards something that's more in proximity to whiteness. That is just my
This
conclusion.
is a long... Let's go. Let's kick the dirt.
Because I did it long for a reason. I don't want it to come off like I'm just saying and doing something salacious. This has been very well thought out over lots of years. I say this carefully and I say this gingerly, but I say it honestly. That's what I'm going to say now. We can talk. We can trying it open. Go ahead.
Well, I say in short, black men do love black women. I wouldn't even say like black women. I believe
said love.
I say black men love.
You said love.
I said
the
love.
question was, do they like?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you can love and still not like.
Yeah, there's a difference because people talk about with their own children that they may not like. Like you, as a mom, I can say like you can understand how you can love your child and not like who they are. You can love something and actually not like them. I mean, if we want to like talk about a little bit of examples of what I am saying and how it comes out is, let's say in the celebrity and entertainment world, there are artists, black male artists, that will say some positive things about black women and love black women, and then they don't marry us, don't have children with us, and it's
barely dating. You sent me somebody. I don't want to name the name, even though this is Politrixx, and I'm probably going to name some names in 5 minutes. But yeah, you sent me something like 2 weeks ago. A gentleman's leaving his show and said all these wonderful things, but that's not who you're dating, you know.
Yeah.
And it does send mixed messages, and then you wonder sometimes, are you saying that for the cameras because it sounds good and for the support, or you really believe in what you're saying? And you'll never really know unless you talk to the person and get to know them,
It could be a combination of things too, or it could be a desire to think and feel that you really do feel this way, but then your actual actions don't show it. And so if I am to, right now I decided to talk about celebrity and entertainment, I can bring it back to not that, but if I keep it there, this happens so much. This is from J. Cole, or should I not say artist names?
No, Politrixx, say this, all gloves are off. Good.
Oh, I didn't mean to say J. Cole, actually. It wasn't J. Cole, it was Trey Songz. Anyway, but
Trey Songz.
Yeah.
Do we even care about Trey Songz? Let me stop. Hey, what's up, Trey?
But I'm trying to say, like, they who actively say, yeah, black women, they are queens, blah, 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 and they do not show it in their behavior whatsoever. Right. Another thing that can be seen in some areas in entertainers of black men is some of them having their first child with an actual unambiguous black woman, but literally kind of like once they get proximity and the ability to go towards something less brown, more white, they take that opportunity, have children, those people, and this is now where they have their focus, and they kind of like ignore, forget, or treat very differently that first child they had that is fully black with a fully black woman. This also can be seen in the celebrity world. So if I want to then look at the stats of the black community in general when it comes to marriage, when it comes to households with one parent, I can see those stats, which don't look good, and look at celebrities. I'm like, oh, they still don't look good. And you have money. It's the same thing. I would have to conclude you have an issue with black women. And actually, I'm going to bring that back. I think it's an issue with black people. I think it's an issue with blackness. And the way it comes out, because I think black women have an issue with blackness too, but it comes out differently. I think the way it comes out with men is in these decisions, these life decisions they end up making. And I'm just using statistics and then observation, and this is where I've concluded thus far, and I don't mind that things show me something differently as time goes on. This is where I've landed thus far.
What do you think, Wes?
I know you don't agree.
No, I'm not saying I don't agree. I think what you're saying is very interesting. It's hard for me because it's hard for me to remove myself from a lot of these things. So I'm like, man, I don't know. I mean, because as a person who's dated every thing, aliens, you know, whatever.
Captain Kirk.
Captain Kirk, yeah, I'm on my Captain Kirk.
Right.
You know, I don't know. I mean, so a lot of the stuff that Sam was spitting, I definitely was feeling. You know what I mean? But I don't know. It's hard for me to make those judgments because I'm a dude who used to always get criticized and picked on for my taste in women and stuff like that. And to this day, I got friends from childhood that's like, they see my wife and they're like, oh my God, you married a black woman. I said, I married a human.
Right.
A great human being. You know, and yeah, she's black. But I mean, you know, I'm just like, you know, that's my response to it. They're like, oh my God, you know, they used to kill me all the time about it, right? You know, so my God, Wes, your wife's black. I'm like, she is. Jesus Christ.
Well, you know what?
What happened there?
I feel like if we move it from, let's say, romantic
Right.
dealings and go
Yeah,
to
yeah.
other things, let's go to this latest police killing of Tyree Nichols. You know, that coon of a man that went on Fox News and
Oh
said,
Lord.
like,
Oh my God. The
you know,
one who you talking about, the one who
you
blame,
know
I don't even want to give him no shine.
exactly.
But the one who blamed it on single women household or something.
Yes, and you know why? Because low key, high key, he was raised by a single mom. He had an abusive father who was an avid gambler, and so he's bitter. Well, why are you bitter towards the mother when your father was the abuser?
Was
Who
the
was,
abuser.
Wow.
but that is a tale as all this time in our community. Like you blame the parent that stayed. This okay, but it's fine. But
Yeah.
if even
And I have to say, black women are the only human beings that happens to. It seems like. It just seems like, from what my experience is.
Yeah.
It's like the black woman that actually stayed to raise the child
is the one that gets blamed.
is the one that they get all of the hostility.
Mm-hmm.
Because somehow I don't know why, but maybe somehow they feel that the black woman or the mother is responsible for the father not being there.
I know why. I've been like pondering this for about 3 to 4 years. I've come to
Okay.
this, so I'm like, I think I know why. But before I say the reason why, going back to what that man said on that Fox News show, as much as he is heinous, there's sometimes you gotta listen to where the threads of gold are. And I remember as a kid in the 90s when I was driving that I had an understanding that you don't want to be pulled over by the cops, but being pulled over by a black cop is no better, right? I remember having that understanding. I remember how I was treated when I got pulled up for speeding by a black cop in Atlanta. It was rude, like awful. And I was young, and I was a girl. Like me being a black female did not move him in any sort of way. And being by myself
Almost
in a
worse.
state that I lived,
Because he had to overcompensate for the
overcompensate. So what I would say is the violence of this incident really does mirror the violence that happens every day among very majority black communities. Let's just be very honest. As much as we don't want to say it and we don't want to admit it, we can't fix it. We don't say what it is. That beat up, that gang beat up happened.
That's what it was.
Right around where I live. That happens right here all the time. It mirrors what already happens. They just happen to have a role of more responsibility.
Right. Also, the thing is, there's levels to this because there's the badge, there's the uniform, there's the gun, and there's what I've noticed. There's two different types of personalities that tend to, and I could talk junk, got family members that were cops, so. But also gives love to it too, because of the situation. So,
Absolutely.
But the thing is like this, you have those that were traumatized and become, Bruce Wayne, and they want to save the world, they want to bring things in order, they want to make the world a better place. Then you got those traumatized, low self-esteem, I need to be a bully, I need to be in charge, I have, this ego or this narcissism, and now I get to walk around and tell people what to do, and they get to fear me, and in general, not to say that there aren't people in between, but in general, the saviors, and then the bullies. And unfortunately, I don't know what they're doing as far as training or being able to come up with some sort of AI that can tell the difference between the jerks and the good people. Maybe at some point they'll, but there's...
They don't really put anything into the psychological part of it, especially now. I mean, they've always kind of been like that. They kind of like take anybody really, if as long as you don't have like a criminal record. Like
Right.
basically, if you ain't been caught for nothing,
Right.
you could still be a criminal at
Now-
heart. You just didn't get caught.
Now, Wes, you're into old films. Sam, you're into films as well, too. Let me not push you out of that. But the reality and the fake, back in the day, you had to be a particular height, a particular build, many places a particular race, and it changed over time. But there was this look and this feel. I mean,
in a particular shape,
in a particular shape.
especially state troopers. You had to be
Yeah.
in a specific type of shape.
Now, one of the
to
best
even-
films to make fun of that was Police Academy. But
Yeah.
ironically enough, I believe we're living in Police Academy. I'm seeing cops
Yeah.
with tattoos and purple hair, green hair,
Yeah.
earrings, tags, and tongue rings. I'm like, whoa. This was a movie, bro. I know you're too young to
Like-
know this, but
like-
this was a movie.
Nah,
and they
be
made fun of you.
Bro, this is like motherfuckers just cops walking out looking like they about to, start stripping or something.
Yeah.
Like, not really a cop.
So you're right. I mean, I do
You're
think
under
we're at that
arrest.
point of taking anything and it hurts because there are those that do a great job that really do care, that'll talk to you, hey, what's going on, try to de-escalate, and there are great cops that are out there.
Also, we need them because what has been
Yeah.
happening ever since the defund the police movement is crime has been escalating because they're folding their arms a bit more. They're
Yeah.
folding their arms a bit more, but the people that are hurt most are the people in the worst communities, the poorest communities, and women, specifically Black women. And this is why the Black female murder rate has skyrocketed since 2020. Skyrocketed.
Please hold that, because that connects to earlier what we were talking about, but I have to say this because I would not be responsible to not say this part. And I can't stand, I'm not a fan of the left or the right, but I can't stand when the right says the whole thing of defund the police, da. Okay, for the millionth time, defund the police wasn't literally take all the funds from the police and stop the police. It was relocating funds into training, helping the community, getting the community healthier so they could have a healthier situation, which in turn would have a healthier interaction with the police. It wasn't literally to defund and get rid of the police. It was the worst slogan ever. It was the worst slogan because you have to have that conversation to understand it. I don't know what idiot started that slogan because it ruined the room in it. What happened?
What? White woman.
Oh, wow. And another shot fired, this time from Sam. So anyway, stop it the right. Stop it because, we're going to hear that all during the election. Well, defund the police, and you see, that's what you get for wanting to defund the police. And stop it. You're an idiot. Stop it. That's not what it meant.
Yeah, those same people were saying defund the FBI.
If we keep on the topic of do Black men like Black women,
And abuse.
which
You mentioned something about the rising in abuse towards Black women. That's important too.
Yes. Not
Yes.
just abuse, death
so
of Black women.
yes, because it skyrocketed. It was like before the pandemic. It was like two or three Black women a day died or were killed. 95% of the time it was by a Black person. Out of that 95% of the time it was by a Black man. And of that percentage, like the vast majority was a current or former lover, husband, boyfriend, or child, father
Of interest. Yeah.
of the child. The thing is, now it's every 4.4 hours. 4.5 hours. Every 4.5 hours, a Black woman is dying grossly by the hands of a Black man. And the other, you said, Wes, why do Black women get like that burden and that pain of being blamed when ish goes wrong for being single moms. Both of what you said and what I'm saying right now comes to a culture within Black diaspora. I don't know if it's everywhere. I don't know if it's continental. I don't know. But I will say Black diaspora, specifically America, I would say, of a quasi-coddling of the males. I believe the coddling comes from having more female presence in being brought up, and the way that how we are. The reason why we need that man too, because they give something different that's very important for both girls and boys. And there is a coddling that comes. Like historically, we would joke about Caribbean girls how we had to do our brother's laundry and we had to do more chores than the brother. And the brother got to go out more often. And the brother can have multiple girlfriends and it's funny. And the girl can't do anything because you're called certain words. So, I remember these jokes happening in high school and college with other Caribbean, whether Spanish-speaking or English-speaking Caribbean people, right? So what happens if you coddle something, anything, any kid? They become entitled. This is just regular psychology. Take Gen Z. Gen Zers are super coddled. Look at them walking around entitled, right? You coddle, it becomes entitled, and it doesn't understand how to handle the not getting what they thought they deserve, thinking they deserve more than they'd earned, and being rejected. The reactions become much more big, much more violent, and sometimes deadly. So why are the women blamed? Because in general, some of these men are coddled to such a point of entitlement that they don't even understand the basic things they need to do to get the status that they think they deserve. And who do they have to blame outside of themselves, and who's standing right there? Their mom and their grandma. And maybe they can't do it to their faces, so they do it in other ways because other women represent them. And that's where the mistreatment comes. The violence towards women within the Black culture is only rivaled by Native Americans, who are in a worse state. No other ethnic group has the type of violence we have towards women within their own ethnic group in America. And it's something that we just need to talk about. And I think anti-Blackness is a piece to this. It's a piece to this. It's a piece. Yeah.
We live in a country that for decades, the promotion of light eyes, light skin, the right hair texture, bombarded. You know, the women that were allowed to be the famous Black women going back to the 40s and the 50s. You had the extreme, the mammy. You had the mammy figure, and then you had the mixed as much as possible figure, or having as many quote unquote Caucasian traits as possible, right? So this is, now you had generations of men that were boys that were like, well, that's the star, so that's what I want. They grew up to be men and ran after that. They got whatever, but they still ran after that. So you had a couple. It's the brainwashing went on for so long. I mean, long. Look at like if you're into 80s movies, even early 90s when it tries to change. I see the finger. Hold on 1 second. Look at from Little Richard conking his hair to right. I mean, perfect example. Al Sharpton.
Oh yeah.
He wanted to be James Brown.
Yeah.
So as much as he's into the church, as much as into politics, at the end of the day, he as a boy wanted to be James Brown. So everything you see that seems a little funky, a little off, because he wanted to be James Brown. But you had kids that wanted to be Prince. You had kids that wanted to be Michael Jackson. You had kids that wanted to be DeBarge. You had like all these, and he's not really Black, but still, you know where I'm going with it. So you have all these images of people, not until you had people like Eddie Murphy break through and become, as far as like the acting and seeing in movies, the movie star. Sports, sports were kind of random, but it didn't have the impact as the movie star and the singer. Just wasn't the same. Go ahead. Yeah. The finger.
So, as
999.
all of that, and that can influence desire and who you desire and what to desire.
Right.
But where the anti-blackness comes in, I was just sharing some things with Michael, is what I'm discovering about the offspring of these men that end up having children with non-black women. This, I believe, is the big line in the sand on how anti-blackness is shown in women versus how anti-blackness is shown in black men. These biracial kids of black men have been on TikTok. I mean, I've done such a deep dive. I was like, I didn't even know. They don't know who they are. Their sense of identity is warped. They have none. A lot of them come from single moms, white moms, who were racist, who used the N-word around them, or called them the N-word themselves, or at least didn't stop their white racist family from calling their biracial kid N-words with no one protecting them. Their black daddy's either silent or not there, right? There's so many stories
again, as a blanket statement of the ones in these videos. Because you can't say all. Definitely not.
In these videos, but then I'll talk to the study, so I'll get there afterwards. And this is not happening with the small amount, because most biracial black and white is black men and a white woman, because black women rarely get with white men. But those children from a black woman and white men don't have these identity issues. They're much more clear on who they are, and they walk through the world with so much more certainty. So the other part I'm saying about anti-blackness is, are you teaching your child? Are you giving them the understanding of their blackness, or are you just more happy that they're less black and you try to run away from it, ignore it, not talk about it because it's not a thing that you even want for yourself? This is a real thing that we could really talk about, because this is where I feel the anti-blackness shows up so much more. There's recently been a study, it was published in 2021. It was done by a Canadian and Asian Canadian. I don't know what type of Asian, but like Korean or something. An Asian Canadian in Toronto. It's 300 plus pages, and she studied biracial children of all types of black-white parents setups. Now, she's not even within the community. She is an Asian Canadian. She got to the point where there was such a difference in the adult biracial people, of whether it's a black mom or a white mom, that after years of the study going on, when a new biracial adult came into the office to be part of the study, she can tell within sentences if their mom was black or their mom was white.
Well, I don't think you need 300 pages to know that if you live in a world where there's the quote-unquote patriarchy, and mothers tend to, not in all situations, but in many situations, are raising the kid, I don't, look, that's not even a page. She's not that bright.
But it's more than
Wait a minute. All right, give myself a little smoke there. Okay.
There were different methods she was talking about in terms of health, so financial health,
she got paid,
spiritual
though.
health,
I didn't get paid to say that.
Health. Huh?
I'm sorry. I thought she got paid for that study. I didn't even get paid to say that. But never mind, go ahead.
Emotional and even sense of identity. The one I tend to glean on the most is the one of identity. She said the biracial children of black moms has so much more certainty in who they felt they were. Whether they called themselves black or biracial, they were just very firm in it. They're like, this is what I am, very certain, not confusion, nothing wishy-washy. She said it was the opposite. If they had a white woman, a black dad, a direct opposite. So then I asked, like, what is the conversation even being had in the home? And what you hear in stories, in anecdotes, what you're hearing in stories is they're not having conversations. Their black fathers are not bringing up race. They're not having these conversations with the woman they decided to have children with, nor with their children that they created with this non-black person. Is not being had. So this idea of identity, they're learning out in the wild, which is very traumatic. Versus these black moms kind of say it really early, like, this is how the world's going to see you, this is what they're going to do, blah, 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 blah. It's there. Not only that, but even the conversations with their loved ones. Like, the tough racial conversations are seemingly not being had by black men and their non-black women, but they're being had more so by black women and their non-black partners.
It's interesting. I mean, I would say this because I'm always very leery of statistics because you could kind of sway it each way. But I can say I've seen scenarios confirming 100% of everything you said, Sam. And I've definitely seen through education, becoming a RA in college, from teaching, I have seen effects of just, not ready to be a parent and teaching, because there's levels to it. There's the racism, there's the immaturity of the parents. Is that I'm working all the time. You figure your life out. You figure it out. I'm trying to keep shelter and food. You figure that out. So where they figure it out is movies, music, online, the internet, social media. Look at it. Look at it this way. So it's super interesting because, I know from being in the arts, school experiences, where I used to live and stuff. I've seen black mothers and other women of color raising their daughters to be with white men. Like, this is that you go after that. I've seen that. But I also know the other side of it, people just, I like everything, or I like this. I just happened to fall in love. I wasn't seeking this and that. So I've seen all. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm pushing back on that one because statistically, it's incredibly clear. Out of all women in America, the group that marries and dates out the least are black women, out of Asians, out of white women, out of Hispanics. Out of all men in America, the racial group that dates and marries out the most are black men. We literally split the scale. We literally split the scale.
That's interesting.
There is something afoot. Like,
definitely.
It's not even close.
And there's only 11% of us in this country. Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. If there's arguably anywhere between 10.9 to 13%. Wait a minute.
12.5 to 14%, but go ahead.
How much?
It's like 12.5 to 14%. That's what vacillates.
Oh no, it went down because it was 13%. So we're going down in numbers. Okay, cool. So of that 13%, right? You have a certain percentage that are just little youth. They're too young for anything. Then you got the older folk. Then you got a large percentage, allegedly, I don't know the numbers, but that are in jail. There's,
alleged.
I don't know, because the thing is, this is what I grew up with. But what if there's not 12.7%? What if magically there's 15%? What if there's only 5%? I don't know, right? I don't know.
Also depends on how are they classifying
black
these people, because there are a lot of mixed race that are classified as black.
True.
Or don't.
That also that tips the scale a little bit.
That's true, but. You're absolutely right. How are they classifying black? Because we know black is a very wide umbrella because it works for economics in the United States to do that.
For sure.
But at the same time, if we include biracial, still black men marry out and procreate with non-black people, out of their race, almost out
But you see my point, though. Because it's such a...
Wait. Not that. It's not just that. It's the difference that black women do it the least, and we're in the same group. That's the difference. Because Asian women do it a whole lot. They do it a whole lot, and the men do it too. But Asian women do it a whole lot. White women do it the least because they know where the power resides. So of course they would do it the least, right? So but the levels aren't so wide in their own ethnic group. The levels in black people, even if you include biracial people, sure, let's include them. Why is it so wide? Why is the difference so huge? And to me, one of the conclusions I've come to is this is one of the ways anti-blackness is shown within black males.
Is it anti-blackness or is it brainwashed pro-whiteness?
Women
Is it
have
the
the same
same?
brainwash for whiteness. This is what I'm trying to say. Why is it so different? This is what I'm trying to say. We're talking about all black people right now. But why is it so different for women than men when it comes to who we procreate with and slash or marry and slash or date? Why is it so different when in the same racial group, no other racial group has such a crazy dichotomy? Asian women kind of, Asian women kind of, but still not. This is insane. So it's hitting us differently. This is what I'm trying to say. Anti-blackness is within all black people. The way it shows itself in women is one way. The way it shows itself in men is they don't want to be with us.
Well, I would say, Wes, I have no more. I don't even know what to say. I don't know what to say. Sam's argument is very convincing.
I have to. No, it's very, very great. As I mentioned before, I am with a black woman. It's just, I do have. I have two biracial kids myself. My two oldest, my son, my daughter, and as far as those conversations that we talked about, it's definitely been had in this household. And it was had before they even came into this world. You know what I mean? And but hey, like I said, it's hard for me to separate myself from a lot of these things.
Right.
But statistics. If they'll tip any which way in some way, but at the same time, numbers don't lie. So I buy that. You know what I mean? Definitely. Yeah. Men lie, women lie. Numbers don't, right? So
and I would say one.
I get that, but but I don't know. It's just for me, I don't know, man. I'm listening to everything that she said, and I'm like, wow, that's interesting. Some stuff, I'm learning a lot here too, because I'm like, really, that big? Okay, but then I buy it. You know what I mean? I'm definitely not pushing back on the numbers.
The specific numbers that came out after the 2010 census, and now after the 2020 census, someone has to compile it together because we could figure it out now, but it just hasn't been, and I'm not going to do it. I don't care enough.
Right.
But after the 2010 census, it's out of all black women who've been married, it was 12% married out. And that's not just white men. That's
anything,
anyone that doesn't
considered black,
black. And for all black men who had been married, 25% had married out. And there's no other racial group that has a gap that's that significant between the genders. All the other groups are within. All the other groups are within. So it's a topic. And the 12% is kind of high because black women marry out the least out of not just all women, out of all men too. Black women really marry out the least out of everybody. And it used to be lower. It used to be 9% before 2010. After 2000, it was 9%. It was historically always the lowest. And I told you this, Michael, after Loving versus Virginia had passed in the Supreme Court, there was this huge sprint.
Oh, you told me.
This big jump, and I'm sure if we wanted to go ahead and try to figure it out on Google, we can, of black men that married white women, but not black women that married white men. That didn't change. That didn't budge. But that other part, that did.
Well, I say this because I know this, at least past the show, having conversations. If you're out there and you're a black woman, hold on, let me put a little music. Hold on a second.
Oh,
do I have that? I gotta be dramatic. Hold on. Do I have a little? No, I need something better than that. Hold on. Yeah, that sounds good. Hold on. You gotta get, cause this is, no, that's too, there you go. If you're out there and, you're a black woman, I don't want you to listen to this conversation and lose hope. Because if you want a black man, you need to do what you need to do to get what you want. That's all I want to say. Because if you want shoes, you get those shoes. Now, for instance, you gotta go to places black men are at. You know what I'm saying? You gotta go where they at if that's what you want. Because if that's what you want, you gonna get it.
And that is, according to statistics, around white women.
I had that face. Wes, that's exactly what I had in my head.
Wait, shots fired.
So the moral of the story is, get yourself a white friend.
Get yourself a white friend, and you'll get yourself a black man.
You might meet all the black men you need.
Exactly. And on that
white
note,
female friend, excuse me, a white female friend.
I also want to say, I say this to be constructive, not to be destructive, because I feel like stop it, Michael. I also say because it humors me, yes. But I'm not saying it to just be destructive. I am saying it to be a little bit constructive, because if we understand this and we want different for us, we have to first admit that this is what's happening, something's going on, and let's try to discover why. Right. And if we can do all that, then we can come above it.
Right. And for a healing understanding, it's one of those things like meditating, getting to know yourself. There's a difference between, hey, I like what you like. Hey, I just like you. Well, I like you. We both like chocolate. Let's eat chocolate together. And that could be anyone of any race, any time, any age, whatever. Well, not any age. R. Kelly. So, but, it is what it is. You like, whatever. But you, as an individual, when I say you out there in the universe, right, you have to sit there and like, well, am I liking this because I have issues with myself? Am I liking this because I don't like myself or my background or trauma? Only, I think the individuals could really go deep in there. And that's something that I think every person, as a young adult should question. Why do you like what you... Well, I like what I like. No. Right. Why do you like what you like?
Right, because my daughter has never dated anybody but black men. You know what I mean?
As she should.
She's herself black.
But also black females tend to stick to black men.
As they should.
Right, yeah.
As they should.
What?
It's really hard when the black femicide rate is really crazy high, but yeah, sure, as they should.
Here's a quick question. Do you think because of that, just in your opinion, do you think because of that, that big gap, and not everyone knows the statistic, but they may just experience it and see it and don't know the actual numbers, but they still, black women are the most intelligent women on the earth, so they're going to figure it out, right? So even if they don't know the actual numbers, do you think that is a reason why some show much frustration towards black men, no matter what, especially black men in a certain position or something like that? Because I've seen that a lot. I've seen frustration.
I've seen that. Right. And I think where it initially comes from, anecdotally, is I know so many. I will date whomever. I was married to a black man. I have 2 children with that man, so I have 2 black children. And I'm just saying that so you just have a base, but I don't care who people date. But what I will say is, so many black women who have hard times dating, and anyone has a hard time dating. I'm not saying black men don't have a hard time dating, okay? But when the discussion comes up with like, oh, well, maybe try like opening up your options, there's such a resistance. They're like, I don't want to. No, I want black babies. There's in so many anecdotally, I'm saying anecdotally, in my world, this is the response. I come from an international background. I went to an international school. I'm really fine with all of that. And so I've been boggled with like, why are they so stuck on this? if they're having such a hard time. And what I find with the men is they're so much more apt to be like, whatever, which I think is fine. Understand, I think it's fine. But that means there's a programming happening that the girls are getting and they're acting it out in this way, and the boys are getting or not getting and they're acting it out in this way, and it doesn't really work together. If it's cool, they can go out and go forth to whoever, and the girls are like, I really want black babies, I want a black man, I want a chocolate baby, you know, I gotta get someone darker than me because I'm too light bright, and blah blah blah. Like, this is what they're saying, and I'm like, but they're not married to you.
But Sam, but the thing is, I think that is an issue as well, and this is why I say this, because if you, as an example, two computers, you know, it's like, just pretend because of the anti-Mac people, but I want a Mac laptop. It's the best for what I want to do. Da 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 da. It's $1,000, but I only have 800. All right. I'll get the forget the Mac. PC. I'll get the PC. No, you get what you want. If you want the Mac, then that's what you want to do. If someone says, "Oh, but I want a black baby," well, then get that. I mean, sometimes the problem isn't someone else. It might be you. Maybe you're whack. Maybe you need to work on you. Maybe like
Michael, I said this to you. If the numbers are so stark within the black community when it comes to this topic, that if you keep saying that, we can't fix the problem, Michael. We have to name what it.
There's different layers of what the okay. Let's look at it past color. Okay, just men and women. Yeah, there's just as an individual, just here's a man, here's a woman, forget culture, forget race, they can still not get along. They can still have issues of who they are, who they want to be, what they want to do in life. So there's so many levels to...
Okay, no, I'm going to do this. I was going to say this for after the show because I'm like, maybe the public shouldn't hear this one, but now I'm going to have the public hear this one.
Go for it.
So, the statistics on the health of a marriage when groups of people marry...
You told me this one. Good.
When groups of people marry the same race or marry outside their race, how long the marriages last, how healthy the marriage is, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So out of the four main groups, white, Asian, Hispanic, black. Now, these are white people statistics. When they say Hispanic, who the hell do they... I don't know who they're talking about. Hispanic is every type of race, right? Whatever. But I'm just saying that so we can be clear. I understand Hispanic is not a race. It's a culture. And there's races within Hispanic. Okay. But it's broken down: white, black, Hispanic, Asian. If you look at each group marrying each other, the group that has the shortest lived marriages out of those four categories are black people. Okay, fine. What happens when black men marry out to Asian or to Hispanics or to white? It gets worse and worse and worse. So the marriage brevity tightens up, meaning like how short it is. They get divorced quicker. It's typically there's an economic issue too, whatever, but I'm not going to talk about the length of marriage. So the black man's best bet for the longest marriage for a black man is to marry a black woman. And anybody outside of marrying, because being in an interracial relationship is already hard. So I can imagine being married to someone that's
this is what I said, like there's so many, I'll let you continue, but I know you're not, but there's so many levels to it. It's not just one thing, but go ahead.
I'm not done though. Let me keep going.
Go ahead.
So being in an interracial relationship or marriage is already going to be tougher anyway. So it's not surprising that these marriages with black men and other races of women don't last as long. And it's not just them. They don't last as long with other races of people marrying out. But for some reason, when black women marry out and black women marry out the least, the marriages last longer and longer and longer, to the point that out of every single category of man, women, and race, the longest lasting marriages in America are black women and white men. Not even white women and white men. Black women and white men have the longest lasting
black women hold it down.
Marriages
they don't give up.
America. You know which one are the shortest marriages in America?
Reverse.
The absolute reverse. White women and black men. So this is what I will say, Michael. Yes, interracial relationships are difficult, but for some reason, black women do flourish within marriages more. And the second wealthiest marriage coupling is a black woman and a white man too.
Well,
The wealthiest.
That's not surprising.
The wealthiest is a white woman and an Asian man. That's the wealthiest. White woman and Asian man. The second is a black woman and a white man. So what I'm coming back to, Michael, is when you say, but if you want that, you just have to go look for it. The numbers are not just are they
but
not
that
showing
doesn't.
it, they're so starkly.
But even past all that, hold on, Sam.
If you care about black people, you will just say this is true. This is an issue, and let's admit it so we can talk about it and we can change it. So it's
an
no
issue.
longer happening.
But black women have survived the last 400 years, and like they're willing to deal up with more. They not give up. But if we lived on that statistic, separate from relationships, right? Wes, you're a black man living in America. I'm a black man living. If we lived on just statistics and our survival and success.
I did not marry an American, not a black American.
Well, that's a thing.
I did not marry an American woman. I did not. I have married a Canadian woman.
So, see?
It is a difference.
It changes the whole dynamic. But also, if we separate relationships, we just talked about numbers and this and that. Wes and myself are supposed to be dead or in jail.
Michael, there's always a singular story, as Shimamanda likes to say.
It's not.
Story. But are you going to ignore that these statistics actually exist?
No,
so we're going to pretend
definitely not.
That this is
definitely
happening.
Not. But I think it's very important to the audience is to, yes, be aware that these things are happening. Look at that, but they're layers. If you attack it from only one angle, you're definitely not going to grow. And it's definitely not going to change anything. But also, if you become a slave to the statistic and just sway your desires of what you want to do, the whole culture is destroyed. The amount of black men that are successful and doing business
the culture
that I know,
already.
that I have met, that I interact with, our existence is against what we were taught in high school. We were taught, you're not going to make it to 21. Do you understand that?
Michael,
what happened?
As much as I hear you theoretically, what you are saying, it is not helpful to tell black people to well, if you really want something, just go for it. When the numbers are so stark, it affects the community this drastically. 72% of black women.
So what's the cure?
Not done. 72% of black women in America will never marry, and they want to. So if they understand the statistic is, maybe you should look out if you really want marriage, because it may not happen the way you want if you just keep sticking to this group of men who either don't want to marry or don't want to marry you. These are true statistics. 54% of black men will be married. Almost half will never marry. So if we're talking about women who want to marry, why would they only keep themselves to the least marrying group in America? That makes no statistical sense whatsoever. And it by leaps and bounds, because no other group of men marry so little. We're talking about the next one, I think it's right. Native Americans.
But again, the loophole in that statistic is age. Also,
what's the age range?
Also, who wants to actually get married of that percentage? What happened?
That's a good. He said, "What's the age range?" That's a really good question. I don't know, but everyone has the same age range within these things. But you're right. I don't know the age range, but it's more than that.
Generational. When it comes to marriage, period, is a generational thing as well. Because a lot of, I deal with a lot of, just doing the, on an everyday basis, I deal with a lot of the millennials and Gen Zers, and they're not into marriage as a Generation X. Or boomers, right? Boomers was definitely that, but Generation X, my generation, were a little more, not even a little more, way more. That was part of their ultimate goal and routine, or not routine, ultimate goal in life was to eventually marry, right? So I think that's changed as the generations went on and the
Yeah.
age ranges. So it'd be interesting to know what age range that these statistics cover, as far as
And then also divorce. There's a lot of people that got married and then stay single. So are they talking about people that will never marry? They were never married at all?
When I said 72% of Black women
won't get
will never marry, they will never marry. They've never been married. Will never marry. Will never marry their whole life.
And that constitutes as straight and gay.
This is all women. It's all women.
Well, then
but when you go,
that makes a difference too.
No, Michael, because when the next group of women who will never ever marry, like the next racial group, it's like 40%. And that's including straight and gay. We have to say what the problem is. There's an issue within Black people when it comes to coming together, marrying and procreating with each other. There is an issue. If you keep not wanting to make it seem like it's an issue by trying to say like there's these other statistics, these other layers, every other racial group got the same things in this, in the compilation.
Yeah, but they don't have the same.
No.
But that's unfair because there's even, especially because of Black History Month, right? I mean, if you take an Asian guy, a white guy, and there's a whole bunch of different experiences, cultures, backgrounds, backlashes, living in this society, it is not all equal. There's a certain amount of baggage that Black people have that's different from an Asian. Everyone has baggage. Even white men have baggage, believe it or not. And it plays out not only in their professional lives, their personal lives, but their relationships. So it's not. So this is why I hate some of these statistics, because I studied that in school as well, is that, it's easily manipulated and they don't hit it from all angles. So it's really unfair. But I still say that, like, again, moving away from relationships, just as men, like, there's certain things that Wes, as a director, that he has achieved and he has done that he should not have statistically. He just should not have. And there's things that I've done and I've achieved that I just should not have. Period. So I'm not going to change the things that I want based on that. It just doesn't make sense.
No, I hear what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
However, for me, and this is this is more personal because I do identify as a Black woman, and I love being a Black woman. I'm really into it, and I really love supporting Black women. Like I really, really, really do. So I will say this is more personal for me. For me, knowing these statistics and knowing in my life how many Black women I know who really want to get married, some who haven't had children yet and they're approaching 40 and they're still trying, but they really want to just be with a Black man, and Black men barely marry, period.
Right.
And then statistically, if they have proximity to non-Black women, they will typically try to go there first. It would be idiotic for me to say to these women, just keep sticking it out.
I hear what you're saying.
I gotta say this I'm about to be that guy, right? Because I have to say from my personal experience, and yes, I'm about to be that guy, the guy that says, well, whatever. I'll be completely honest with you. Like I've said twice already who I married, right? So, but I've never ever in my life thought, felt, or wanted to say I got to marry a Black person. I never felt that. I've never said it. I've never wanted it. I've never desired it. It happened because I fell in love with a person that's Black, right? So, someone who's, I already said I have two other children. They're not even kids no more. They're adults. I have two adults that, biracial. I've probably dated every single race on this planet, but yeah, I mean, I guess I'm about to be that guy that says, well, I'm the one who said that doesn't apply to me because of blah blah blah. I'm not saying I'm about to be that
Yeah.
guy only because and I didn't grow up with one parent. I had both my parents in the house. I was raised with a strong black man who worked for the worked
Right.
and took care of the family. He a southern black man. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, we grew up in New York, but he come from the South, right? Moms, that generation, so that definitely doesn't apply to me. Um, Culture wise, always knew what I was, who I am. My parents always made sure of that as well. Um, so that doesn't apply to me. And like I said, when I decided to, I guess also I'll say in the beginning, it was more of an environmental thing of my surroundings
Mm.
because
Who
my
was there?
parents, right, my parents moved into, we were raised into a town that was probably predominantly white, but it
Mm.
had, how they go, they're predominantly white with a black neighborhood, where they
Right.
put us all in one
Right.
area,
Right.
you know. So it's like, okay, so you have the people that are in your neighborhood, then you got the people that you might meet in school or outside or whatever the case may be. So I think at the beginning, before I was able to like kind of go around and experience life myself, when I started getting into females, girls, whatever, um, it was just kind of like my surroundings, so it might have been, it was a little bit of everything, like I said, all the blacks were both pretty much in my neighborhood.
Mm.
And a neighborhood that I kind of, because even though my parents, not to give you my whole life story, but even though my parents lived in one town, I was between towns. I was in Hempstead, New York, where that's where I grew up, like as a kid, and then I moved out to Suffolk County, where all the white folks were. As a kid. So
Oh,
yeah,
Suffolk County Police.
oh
I,
god,
I
the
was
highest paid
a
police
said,
in the city, the highest paid police in the city, and do the least. But then, let me stop
I know.
ragging on my people. Let me stop ragging on my strong islanders. I don't want to go in like 'cause
Yeah.
I got a few friends that, but then again, they weren't Long Island police. They were city cops.
See, that's
Mm.
different.
That's a difference. But anyway, long story short, to wrap that up is yeah, man, I'm not gonna sit here, and that's why I'm trying. It's hard for me to separate myself, but I'm definitely not the person to say because I went through a certain progression or whatever, dated different people, dated outside of my race a lot, um, and ended up marrying what I did, but I'm not gonna be like, no, that's not true because it didn't happen to me. You know what I'm saying? Or I didn't feel that way. And some people may still feel that I felt that way, or whatever the case may be, because that's where I don't like the statistics part, because the statistics will say that about me, right? And if I didn't, like I said, people who've known me since I was young, if they didn't know my wife or whoever,
Right.
they would probably guess
Right.
that I married probably someone, in the Latin descent, or
Right.
that's what they would have guessed, probably Latin,
Yeah,
whatever,
and
or
anybody
white, you know what I mean?
anybody out there, I
Or
hope I
mixed
did
or
not
whatever.
offend anyone if their life experience is 100% to those statistics. And Sam, Evan said even a couple days ago that
Yeah.
I can't. I know what I've read, what I've seen, and I've seen, been around a lot of people, and I hate to sound like Kevin Samuels, but sometimes the problem is
Lord.
you. Sometimes it is you. We should do a whole show on that. Sometimes it's not the world, it's not baggage. Sometimes you just pick shit, and you need not to pick that, and maybe that's why it didn't work out. But I dated 50 guys in the last year. Well, maybe you just need to go after something different. The problem could be you. I'm not saying it is.
I'm saying
wait.
that part you just said.
I'm
Maybe these women need to go out for something different because statistically it
Right.
seems to work in their favor
Right.
more if they do so.
And I tell you, there's a lot of entrepreneurs.
Maybe if they
there's
hear
a
that
lot of,
statistic, they will.
Yeah, you know what I mean? There's a lot
Maybe
of
if they
there's a
hear
lot
the
of
statistics.
dudes out
maybe-
there that
and
are
maybe-
worth it, but
and
you can't pick them up in the
maybe if-
club or at the bar. Maybe, or maybe you can, but you know, ultimately, I think that no matter who you are, no matter what race you are, if there's something that you ultimately want for whatever reason, I think it's important to question why you want whatever you want, but then go after that and figure it out.
I also think maybe it would be helpful for the Black community if women stop existing in this one-sided loyalty, and when it comes to the romance department, actually, and seriously, and actually expand their options, because I think ultimately men do thrive in competition. And if you have this gaggle of women who are just like sitting here like, I want only you, and these men are like, I don't want only you though, then who they don't excel there. Make it thin the herd. Go on out there, and possibly we might see some men deciding to like, wait a minute, wait, I want to win this race. It might actually help us as Black people if women stop just sitting around waiting for a skin tone and go ahead and just date a person.
And you know what? Another
A person.
day we should do, actually would be cool, because again, there's a certain amount of things that men are men, and there's a certain amount of stuff you have to deal with whomever you have to deal with. There's work and issues potentially.
Ain't nobody talking about what work is and what work isn't, Michael. This is not the topic.
Well, I'm just saying.
I'm just saying.
There's a lot of black men love. There's a lot of Black men that love Black women. That's all I'm saying.
Sure, absolutely.
Passive.
And 72% of Black women will never get married. And if they want to get married, they should date out.
Cool. Any last words for you?
I guess the moral of the story is Black men do not like Black women.
All right, give everybody your social media.
Yeah, you can follow me on all social media at the director, DA director. That's it.
You can find me on Instagram at SamEatsPlants_.
And she does eat plants. And I'm Michael7Michael on IG. You're watching Politrixx.